everybody, welcome to reading today. We are going to continue to learn how to focus on what we are reading. We've already learned a few strategies. We've learned how to find a good fit spot that'll help us focus. We have learned how to pick out a good fit book using the 5-finger rule. And yesterday we learned how to use planned breaks, which is just chunking up what you're reading into smaller sections. Alright, so today we are going to learn the strategy, thinking about what you're thinking. So thinking about what you're reading. There's a big fancy word we're going to learn, but our focus is going to be today, I can think about what I'm reading. You'll know you have it when you can identify or tell me 3 times that you thought about your reading today. We're going to learn a big word. Are you ready for it? Alright, here it is. Metacognition. I wonder if anyone's ever heard of metacognition. If we were in the classroom, I'd ask you that right now. Has anyone ever heard of this word before? It's a pretty big word for a 3rd grader. All it really means is thinking about your thinking. So metacognition means that you are thinking about what you're thinking about right now. So so check in with your brain right now. Let's think about what we're thinking. Are you thinking about what Miss Sather is saying? Or are you thinking about that toy in the corner over there that looks really fun to play with? Are you thinking about what Miss Sather is saying? Or are you thinking about what you're going to have for lunch and when this lesson's going to end? So thinking about your thinking is just checking in with your brain and seeing where your thoughts are at. So I'm going to break this down for you and how you use this strategy or this idea for reading. So when you read, you have to have a book, either online or in your hands, and you have to have your body, right? Like you can't read without your body. You can't read a book without a book. The book is what the author has to say. So like in the sinking of the Titanic, this is what the author is telling us. Inside our body, we have our brain, and that is what we are thinking about. So the book is what the author has to say, and then I have my body and my brain, and this is what's going on inside my brain. Does it kind of make sense so far? The book is what the author has to say, your body has your thoughts in it. When you read, you have to combine those 2 things. You're going to combine what the author is saying with what is going on inside your brain. This is what we like to call real reading, this area in the middle here where they overlap, where you're thinking about what the author is saying. To put a little math in here for you, we're going to make an equation. The text, which is what's written in the book, plus what you're thinking, is real reading. And when you're thinking about what the text is saying, then you're focused and engaged with the story, and you're going to get so much more out of it. I included an example of one that you might see in a classroom. When you come back in, I have this up all year long. Again, it's the text and your thinking smashed together is real reading. So you might be thinking, okay, Miss Taylor, that sounds awesome. Also, how do you do it? How do I combine those 2? How do I make sure that I'm thinking about what I'm reading? There's a few thinking stems that you can think of. So while you're reading, I might check in with your thoughts and think, I'm thinking, I'm noticing, I'm wondering, I'm seeing, I'm feeling. And we'll practice these today so that you can see how that works. You could also use think marks. Again, I'm going to give you sticky notes next pickup. But if you have some at home, you could actually use these marks and stick them right in your book. So if something's surprising or new, you could put an exclamation point on a sticky note and put it in your book on that part. Or a question mark if it's confusing. Or if you just have a comment or a thought on something, you put that little star. Or if you love it, it's your favorite part, you can put a heart. And if it's funny, you could put LOL. It's important that you don't actually write inside your books. Please write it on a piece of paper or sticky note, or just think it as you go. So let's see this in action. I have cut out, I've made this little bucket. It's called Metacognition Salad, so it's where we're mixing our thoughts from our head and our thoughts from our book into a wonderful, real reading salad. I have construction paper that I ripped into little pieces. The green ones are for what I'm thinking, and the orange ones are for what the text is saying. So as we go, I'm going to mix these together and put them into this metacognition salad. Alright, I survived. I am still going to use the planned break strategy. So I'm going to go ahead and see how long the next chapter is, see if I might need a break in the middle of it. So yesterday I was reading about a page and a half, and that seemed good. So a page and a half, I'm going to put a sticky note right there. And then another page and a half, a page and a half. I'm going to put my sticky note right there. And then that's the end of the chapter, and I think that's as far as we'll get today, is to finish chapter 3. So I'm going to put my ending sticky note there. Okay, so I planned my breaks. I've got my metacognition salad, and I'm going to show you guys how to use these thinking stems or the think marks to make sure that you are thinking about what you're thinking. George didn't mean to get in trouble. It's just that he got these great ideas. Like on their first day at sea, when he had climbed up the huge ladder in the crow's nest. So I'm trying to remember what a crow's nest is, and I think it's that tall pole that has like a lookout point on it. So I'm thinking about the crow's nest because the text said the word crow's nest, and I was trying to remember what it was. So I've already added to my metacognition salad. I've already used this strategy. "Aunt Daisy," he yelled, waving his arms. She had looked up and she had almost fainted. So I'm thinking that she must not be happy about him climbing all the way to the top of the crow's nest. So it said that she almost fainted. It said that she almost fainted, and that got me thinking that she probably was scared for George that he might hurt himself because he was so high up in the crow's nest. And yesterday, George had explored the entire ship. Aunt Daisy kept warning him that he'd get lost. She said the ship was like a maze, but George could always find his way, even in a huge forest that stretched out behind their farm. Mama used to say that George had the map of the world behind his eyes. He saw the engine rooms and the boiler rooms and wound up on the third class recreation deck. So I'm going to stop and think. I'm wondering what a recreation deck is. I think it's a place where people go and just do some outdoor activities, but I'm not sure what a recreation deck would look like on a ship like that. So that was something I was wondering. If I was doing sticky notes, I would be putting a question mark on a sticky note and putting it right over there. Like, I'm wondering what a recreation deck is. He was watching some boys play marbles when he noticed that he wasn't alone. A little boy was staring up at him with huge eyes the color of amber glass. "See," the boy said, "see," and he held out a postcard of the Statue of Liberty. He looked so proud, like he had carved the big lady himself. George felt like he had to show something in return, so he took out his good luck charm, the Bowie knife Papa had given him for his 9th birthday. He let the little boy run his fingers across the handle, which was carved from an elk's antler. "Enzo," the little boy said, puffing out his chest and pointing to himself. "George," said George. "Giorgio," the little boy cried with a smile. A man sitting near them laughed. He was reading an Italian-English dictionary and had the same huge eyes as the boy. George guessed right that he was Enzo's father. So I'm at my first break point, and I also had another wondering. It says that he was reading an Italian-English dictionary, and so I'm wondering if maybe he doesn't speak English that well. Maybe he speaks Italian. So the text said that he was reading an Italian-English dictionary, and I'm wondering if that's because he's trying to learn English. I'm adding that to our salad. And it's also time for my first break, so I'm going to go ahead and go get some water and take a stretch. All right, I'm back. "Marco," he said, shaking George's hand, "you are our first American friend." Marco must have been studying that dictionary pretty hard because George understood everything he said. George learned that Enzo was 4 years old. He'd lost his mama too. He and Marco came from a little town in Italy, and now they are moving to New York City. George told Marco about their farm and their trip and explained that any decent person living in New York had to be a Giants fan. For some reason, Marco thought that was funny. When it was time for George to leave, Enzo got upset. Very upset. "Giorgio!" he howled loud enough for the entire ship to hear. People started doesn't make sense there. People stared and put their hands over their ears. Marco promised that they'd see George again, but Enzo wouldn't quit howling. George had never heard anything so loud. By the time Enzo let go of George's leg and George ran back up to the suite, Aunt Daisy was practically howling too. "I thought you fell overboard," she cried. But even then she wasn't really mad. She didn't get really mad until last night, and so I'm going to stop. I'm thinking, she said she was really mad last night, and I'm thinking I remember that's because he slid down the banister. So I was just making a connection to make sure I understood what I was reading, but I get to add it to my metacognition salad, my thinking about my thinking salad. How that lady screamed when George came sliding down the banister like he really was a giant squid. George didn't mind getting yelled at. He was used to it. Not a day at school went by without Mr. Landers shouting, "George, settle down!" And Papa, well, he always seemed to be mad at George, but not Aunt Daisy. And being on this trip was supposed to make her happy, happy for the first time since her husband passed away last year. It had been Uncle Cliff's dream to be on the maiden voyage of the Titanic. And the maiden just means like the first voyage. This is the first time that the Titanic has sailed. He'd struck it rich selling automobiles and had plenty of money to pay for one of the biggest suites on this ship, and the suite is the room that they're in. So I'm at my second break already. I'm going to go ahead and pause it and go get a drink of water and take a walk. And now I'm back. When Uncle Cliff had his accident, George was sure Aunt Daisy would cancel the trip. Instead, she invited George and Phoebe to go with her. And to George's shock, Papa said they could. And so that's surprising to me. I'm going to, so like the exclamation point, I feel like that would be super surprising that his dad let a 10-year-old go across the water on a big boat like that. I'm not sure my parents would have done that. And I can add some more salad. Your aunt's going on this trip to find peace, he said to George. I expect you to be a perfect gentleman. And if he wasn't, George knew he'd be shipped off to army school for sure. Papa had been talking about that place ever since George had brought the 2-foot rat snake to school to show Mr. Landers, because they were studying reptiles. George had been perfect the whole time in England. He'd let Aunt Daisy drag him to fancy clothes stores for a new pair of boots. He even learned how to drink tea without spitting it back into the cup. I think that's kind of funny because he must not like tea, and so he was just spitting it back into the cup, which obviously wouldn't be very good manners. So that's an LOL part that I had. I can also add some more salad into my metacognition salad because I'm thinking about my thinking. I'm thinking about the story and what's going on. But, well, the Titanic. The ship gave him so many great ideas. But now he'd really be perfect. No more ideas for the rest of the voyage. So that's the end of the chapter, and I'm wondering if that's going to actually happen. I wonder if he is not going to have any more ideas, and I don't think so. I think he's going to come up with something mischievous. Just because there's a lot of pages left and it kind of seems like it's his personality. So that was me showing you how to stop and think about what you're reading using these thinking stems, or if you want to use the thinking marks, you can. Again, please don't write in your book. Use a sticky note or a piece of paper or something to mark your thinking. If I were you right now, I'd get up, take a stretch, because after this I'm going to go over your assignment really quick, and we will be done with reading for today. Okay, so this is what your assignment will look like. It'll be a Google Slides, and you can push present, but you don't have to. You can just click the pages to move on. So this, with the target right here, means this is what our focus is. Our focus is that you can think about what you're reading, and you'll know you'll have it. You'll know you're a 3 when you can identify or tell me 3 times you thought about your reading today. I have included these helper pages in here in case you want to have them open while you're reading to help you think about your reading. So what you need to do is you need to go and find a good fit book in a good fit spot. Set your timer, and I will include a link to a timer for 11 minutes in the slides again, and then follow these directions to complete the assignment. While you're reading today, I want you to probably have your Chromebook by you, or you can do it on a piece of paper and take a picture of it to send in to me. You need to record 3 times that you thought about the text. So I need to know the page number and then what you were thinking. You can use these thinking stems. Please use these thinking stems. It'll make it easier for you. Then, when your timer has gone off and you have 3 noticings written down, you are all set with reading for today. Let me know if you have any questions. One last thing before I forget. So to type in these boxes, you just double click in them and you should see the cursor in there. The cursor is what you type with. If you accidentally delete a text box, like, oh, I'm here and now I can't click here, there's nothing to click, go over here, there's a T. You click that text box and you just draw where you want to do it at, and now you have made a text box. You can make your font, if you want to highlight it all, you can make your font a little bit bigger. You could even change the style of it. It needs to be black though. Do not change the color of it because I cannot read yellow or light color font on the computer. Alright, I'm seriously done this time. Bye.